Investigators say this was all because of an argument over staring at each other. 18-year-old Dominic Miller and 23-year-old Lyndell Mays face a long list of charges.
Murder in the second degree.
This is in addition to 2 juveniles who were charged too.
Defendant Mays was in a verbal argument with another individual.
Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker says Mays didn't know the other person. There was no connection.
That argument very quickly escalated.
She says Mays pulled out his handgun and fired first.
Witness 9 stated herself and Lyndell were at the parade. She stated a group of 4 males approached Lyndell, and one of the males asked Lyndell what he was looking at because they didn't know him. Lyndell told Witness 9 he didn't know who the individuals in the group were. Witness 9 stated one of the individuals had a backpack with a firearm hanging out of it. The 2 individuals pulled out firearms from their backpacks. Witness 9 tried to pull Lyndell away so they could leave. Lyndell circles around a person and pulls out a handgun with his right hand and points it at one of the individuals. At this time, none of the other individuals appear to have produced a handgun. As Lyndell is chasing the victim while pointing his blick at him, the other individuals in the group pull out their firearms and point them in the direction of Lyndell and appear to start shooting in his direction. The victim whom Lyndell is pointing his gun at is seen running away from Lyndell and appears to be unarmed. Lyndell continues to chase the victim as he is running away from him. Lyndell appears to be shooting at the victim. Lyndell then appears to get struck by gunfire and falls to the ground. The individuals involved fled the scene. While Lyndell was chasing the victim with his firearm pointed at him, Dominic produced a firearm and pointed it in the gang's direction from within the crowd. Dominic chased after Gang and appeared to begin shooting as he's in between 2 random people in the crowd. As Dominic followed Gang, an unidentified member of the group produced a firearm and began to follow Dominic. The unidentified member discharged his firearm, striking Dominic in the lower back, causing him to grab his bag and fall to the ground. Dominic then appears to trip over a cone while still shooting. Dominic gets back up and flees the scene on foot. During his interview, Lyndell confirmed he shot first and shot 2 times. 12 asked why he shot first, and he replied, "Stupid, man. Just pulled a gun out and started shooting. I shouldn't have done that, just being stupid." Lyndell confirmed that he picked one of the individuals in the group at random and started shooting, all because they said, "I'm going to get you," and to him, that meant, "I'm going to kill you." Lyndell's mother opened up a GoFundMe to cover his suffering and medical expenses. She was able to get $100. The campaign was deleted after Lyndell was charged. Lyndell Mays, 23, and Dominic Miller, 18, were identified by several witnesses. They were also identified by surveillance video. The bullet recovered from the female victim was fired from Dominic's gun. Lyndell and Dominic were arrested and charged with murder, second degree, and unlawful use of weapon, and 2 counts of armed criminal action.
Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker said it multiple times. She isn't done yet. Today was only the first round of charges. As she builds her case, she wants to hear from every single person who may have been hurt while trying to flee. Her office is aware of everyone who was shot, but her words? She wants to hear from anyone who fell down, was trampled, sprained an ankle, broke a bone. There's a number on the bottom of your screen. Grab a pen, write it down. Even if it's not you, you can pass it along. It doesn't matter if you went to a hospital or not. But what we learned today, this entire heartbreaking shooting at the parade was over strangers arguing over why they were staring at each other.
It just turns deadly.
Investigators say this was all because of an argument over staring at each other. 18-year-old Dominic Miller and 23-year-old Lyndell Mays face a long list of charges.
Murder in the second degree.
This is in addition to 2 juveniles who were charged too.
Defendant Mays was in a verbal argument with another individual.
Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker says Mays didn't know the other person. There was no connection.
That argument very quickly escalated.
She says Mays pulled out his handgun and fired first. Court documents cite Mays was hesitant to shoot because, quote, children were around, but did anyway.
Almost immediately, others pulled their firearms.
Police say once Mays shot his gun, other people heard it and pulled out their guns and shot too, including Miller.
The evidence tells us that it was Mr. Miller's firearm struck Lisa Lopez Galvin.
Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker couldn't say how many shooters there were, but anticipate more arrests soon.
We seek to hold every shooter accountable for their actions on that day. Every single one.
I read in court documents Mays later said to police his actions were stupid. But for Mays, this wasn't the first time he pulled a gun in public. In 2021, the Belton Police Department cited Mays for pulling out a gun while playing basketball at the community center. That was because of an argument there. It goes on to say that members feared for their safety and caused other players to run out of the gym. Mays was found guilty and served 5 days in jail. He was under probation for 2 years. That probation expired this month.
So Lyndell started this, all right? He kicked this off by shooting first, all right? So this Lyndell, he picked a random dude out of this group and just started shooting at him, all right? The dude didn't even have a gun, okay? Now, they're saying this kicked off with somebody saying, what are you looking at? Okay, what are you doing down there at the parade trying to start trouble? Okay, because the only people that say what you looking at is people that starting trouble or people that starting trouble. Okay, so you were saying, what are you looking at? And basically, it wasn't the dude that said, what you looking at? It was this Lyndell dude. He was down there mugging, all right? And mugging is a way to get things started, too. That mugging is like if you just go somewhere, just go around town and just look at everybody angry and don't say nothing, just look at them angry and just stare at them. That's mugging, okay? And people don't like that. And like I said, you don't have to say nothing to start nothing. So Lyndell was down there and he was mugging these dudes to the point where they had to come over and say, what you looking at, okay? Now, I don't know if they had prior beef or what, but Lyndell was mugging this group so hard, staring at them so heavy, that the group came over and said, what are you looking at, okay? And that's what, you know, that's how it got started, okay? So now this witness 9, this female that Lyndell came with, she was the one that witnessed her, the witnesses her say, not here. So why didn't you just listen to her? She sounds like she's smart. She was telling you to do the right thing. No, you want to ignore this. You want to ignore witness 9 and do what you want to do. And you talking about you told 12 you was doing this because you fear for witness 9 life. How you fear for witness 9 life and you down there starting trouble and you not listening to witness 9? Wasn't nobody chasing after you, bro. And this Lyndell and Dominic is a good example out there of people. You can have all the guns in the world, but if you can't shoot, what good are they? Okay, because Dominic and Lyndell, they could not shoot. Okay, it looks like most of them were the ones that got shot. Okay, and the only time they shot somebody was by accident. Okay, so it don't look like they hit any of their targets, but they got hit. All right, so this Lyndell guy, he started it, and after he started, he just started getting shot. Okay, and when he was getting shot, he became angry, and he didn't know where the shooting was coming from, and he just started shooting everywhere. Okay, and I'm not for sure, he could have been the one that was shooting in circles because they was getting hit. They didn't know what to do. All they know that they was feeling pain and they wanted it to stop, and they started something, but they don't know who's shooting at them because the dude's friends is, they're in like strategic places and they're shooting you, and you don't know who's doing it because everybody's running around. Now you done got yourself involved in somewhere somebody's shooting you repeatedly and you don't know where they at. So you just shooting whatever's moving. And that's the situation that happened down there. These dudes kicked it off, and then everybody starts shooting them. Okay. So now this witness 9 lady, she reminds me of the lady. She reminds me of that lady that was on Boys in the Hood that told the dude the Jerry curl before he started shooting in the air with that Uzi. You know, not right here, not, you know, let's not do this. And then Ice Cube was like, you know, oh, shut up, bitch. And then she looked at Ice Cube like, and that is, you know, that's kind of what, so Ice Cube was wrong for doing, well, Doughboy was wrong for calling that girl out of her name when she was trying to squash the beef. So dude went to the trunk and just grabbed that fully Uzi and just started spraying in the air, okay? Now this Lyndell guy, like I say, Lyndell fired first, and he ended up getting, him and his friend ended up getting shot most of this time. Lyndell and Dominic got shot, all right? Now, what was Dominic doing? Jumping in, and he's jumping in this gunfight, and as soon as he jumps in, he starts getting shot. Okay, and I'm willing to bet Dominic and Lyndell were the ones shooting all the innocent people, because everybody else that was shooting them, and they were shooting the innocent people because they didn't know who was shooting them. Okay, so they was getting shot. They're angry, and they just looking around. They just start shooting, and that's what was going on down there. Okay, now this okay, so this Dominic,
Shout out Fetty, shout out Fetty.
okay, so it looks like this Dominic has to be in the hospital too, okay? So I guess they were the ones that were the last ones in there in critical condition, because from what I'm hearing, they got shot multiple times, all right? They got it the worst, and they were the ones that started it. So I believe since Dominic got shot in his back, he's more than likely in the hospital as well. He's in the hospital too, all right? So I don't know if he's in a wheelchair or if he got paralyzed or what, or when they bring him out to take his picture, but I believe he got shot too, so wounds don't heal that fast, so more than likely he's in the hospital too. To start some beef like that and then get all shot up, and you can't flee the scene because the people that you started beef with, they were good shooters, and they were hitting their targets. I believe the ones that they started this beef with, I don't believe they shot innocent people. They were shooting the shooters, and the shooters were shooting into the crowd in frustration because they don't know who was shooting them, okay? And it was some of that was going on, just like on Call of Duty when you just playing, and that's who Lyndell and Dominic, that's who they're like people that don't know how to play Call of Duty. You just be going throughout the game, and then you just fall to the ground, and that's what was going. They was going around after he pulled out his blick. That's what would happen. They was just falling to the ground, getting shot, and they didn't know who was shooting. Okay, and these dudes were like I say, they were in strategic places shooting you. Okay, now what happened to boxing? What happened to boxing or ignoring people? You can't do that no more. You could have boxed, or you could have been ignored. You didn't have to mug that guy. You're down there with some female. It's women down there. Look at the females. Why are you looking at males? Staring at them with an angry face. Evidently you mad at something. I don't know if it was because you was broke, because people that got money, they don't go to crowds and be staring at people all angry in their face, and it's supposed to be like a happy event, and you down there trying to start trouble. Okay, now what is up with Lyndell's mom? Okay, because Lyndell's mom was on GoFundMe and trying to get donations. All right, so she was on GoFundMe, and she was saying that Lyndell was hurt and he got shot, and she was saying Lyndell was hurt. He got shot 9 times or something, I guess, doing this thing. His mom said he got shot 9 times on this GoFundMe thing. I'm not for sure how many times he got shot, but I thought they said he only got shot behind his ear and like on his ankle and his foot area. So if that's the case, Moms was on GoFundMe lying, talking about he got shot 9 times trying to get some more money. All right, now this guy was the suspect. He was the one that started this, that kicked this all off, and he's on GoFundMe trying to get donations for his medical bills and suffering. And he started this, and his mother's out here trying to do this. I can't make this stuff up, and this is about as demonic as it gets, okay? The one that kicks it off has a GoFundMe, and people donated $100 to that man, okay? And if it hadn't been taken down, and if he hadn't been charged, it would have been in the thousands by now, okay? And he was the one that started everything. He was the one that started shooting first. And he's laying up in the bed collecting GoFundMe donations. I'm out of here.
I think by now you all know why we asked you to come here today. It's so that I can announce charges, the first round of charges associated with the shooting outside of Union Station. The charges that I have today are against 2 separate individuals. Both of these are adults. And the first one is defendant Lyndell Mays. Mr. Mays is an adult that my office has had no previous connection or communication with. And we charged him on Saturday morning. We asked for the charges in his case associated with this event to be sealed, as that investigation was so active and ongoing. So I was not at liberty to talk with you about those particular charges until this moment. And just moments ago, the court unsealed these charges, so they are in fact now public. Now today, regarding Mr. Mays, he is in custody and he faces the following charges: murder in the 2nd degree, felony murder, the underlying felony of unlawful use of a weapon, and this is of course an A felony, the highest charge that Missouri has available, and it brings up to a life sentence. There are another count of unlawful use of a weapon for shooting at a person. That is the Class B felony, and the sentence range is up to 15 years on that particular count under Missouri law. And then there are 2 associated armed criminal action charges. Mr. Mays is being held on a $1 million bond. Now I want to go to the second individual that we have charged. That individual is Dominic Miller. He was also charged last night for his participation in the events that occurred last week. He is an adult and he is in custody. And again, this individual, my office has had no prior contact with this individual either. His charges are the same. That is murder in the 2nd degree, felony murder. Again, the underlying felony for that felony murder is the unlawful use of a weapon, and that is an A felony carrying to a range up to a life sentence in the state of Missouri. A charge of unlawful use of a weapon for shooting at a person, the Class B felony, sentence range up to 15 years under Missouri law, and then again 2 counts of armed criminal action. These are the unclassed felony in the state of Missouri. And though that individual is also being held on $1 million bond. Now I would like to try and give you a brief summary of, I think, what occurred that day that led to these criminal charges. From the evidence, it appears that defendant Mays, that's the first person I read off charges on, defendant Mays was in a verbal argument with another individual. And the evidence does not reflect in these early moments that there was any prior history between these individuals, Mays and the individual he was in some kind of verbal dispute with. There was no connection to each other, those two individuals. Now, that argument very quickly escalated to Mays drawing his firearm, a handgun. Mays pulled his handgun first. Almost immediately, others pulled their firearms. Defendant Miller was one of those individuals. While both adults are charged with murder, the evidence tells us that it was Mr. Miller's firearm. Mr. Miller's firearm struck Lisa Lopez Galvin. So that's just two individuals. And I think as we all stand here, this investigation is still very, very active and ongoing, and we're gonna probably quickly leave this room and go right back to that so that everybody understands what's next. But I do want you to understand, we seek to hold every shooter accountable for their actions on that day. Every single one. So while we're not there yet on every single individual, we're gonna get there. And you're gonna have questions. You're, I'm sure, gonna ask me many questions about this case, about other people's responsibility level, and we are not gonna be able to answer those questions for you today. But the most important thing I want you to hear is that we are not done yet. We are not done yet. Now, normally when I stand at podiums like this, we're really just getting started. You know, because a case carries on usually for a couple of years before I can get to a disposition. But vitally important to us, there's another kind of call out, I think, to community on this particular case. I'm asking for individuals to help us who were at the rally, and they may have additional information to provide. Specifically, we're looking for individuals who suffered wounds from their trying to escape. A stampede occurred as people tried to flee. Once gunfire started, there's a lot of video that's already out there showing people literally fleeing in those moments. We are aware of all of those individuals who had gunshot wounds. We are interested in anyone in the fleeing of this event that maybe fell down, you were trampled, you sprained an ankle, you broke a bone. All of those are the individuals that we'd like to hear from. And do we have a phone number yet that we could give them for them to contact? And I'm sorry about that. We were still trying to pull this part together as quickly as we could.
So the main number to homicide, 234-5043.
All right, 816-234-5043. 5043. So any individual, whether or not you report it to a hospital or not, we would like to know, if you suffered additional wounds from this incident. These two are victims in the case, so that's why we would like to hear from you, and we'll go from there. All right. Okay. There are other issues today that I'm not going to go into and not going to address at this podium. That is whether or not there are additional law changes that are needed. There'll be a day for that discussion. Sure is not today and not at this podium for right now. Okay, I have spoken with the Lopez family, and they could not be here today, and certainly chose not to be here today because it is the view of their family that they want to focus on the memorial for Lisa. And I think we certainly understand that, and we want to support them in all ways that we know how to do that. But they did send a statement. I will send this statement out. It's a little bit long. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you now, but we'll send it after today's press conference so that you have their statement. On behalf of the Lopez Galvin family, we are grateful to the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office led by Jean Peters Baker and her amazing team of highly experienced and dedicated prosecutors. We also want to thank the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department and all other law enforcement departments involved in this investigation. The effort and dedicated hours spent to expeditiously investigate this senseless act of violence is extremely commendable. It is reassuring for our family and the entire community to know that this joint team effort has resulted in the identification of the suspects involved. Though it does not bring back our beloved Lisa, it is comforting to know that the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office and the KCPD made it a top priority to seek justice for Lisa, the other shooting victims, and those who had to witness this tragedy unfold in the Kansas City community. Like I said, we will make that available to you in just a bit, so you will have more information. Okay. If I could, just a quick moment here to give some thanks to some individuals. You know, they're not here. That's the investigative team that I've been able to work with, that all work at the direction of Chief Graves. I am so very, very grateful to work with you and to work the way that we have been able to on this particular case. You've worked as professionals. You've opened your door to me and my team from the very earliest moments. And it takes that level of participation and cooperation to get here. Here is the first marker. I'm grateful to be here, but I'll be even more grateful to find a courtroom in this building where I get to be. And in order to be successful there, I need the evidence to be strong. So thank you to each one of them. I won't name them because I didn't ask their permission to name their names, and sometimes they really don't appreciate that. But do know that we've had a really strong working relationship with them to get to this point. And I personally convey my thanks. Beyond that investigative team, I want to say to the victim advocates in my office, man, God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Who took my call outside of the yellow tape, and from that moment on said, yes, I will do whatever is necessary. We did try our best to plan and prepare for a mass shooting event, and I knew that my office had the largest collection of victim advocates probably in the region, and so I felt obligated that we needed to be ready. You're never really quite ready, though, when it strikes. But these victim advocates have been really amazing, and you've done a great job in helping support a very injured and harmed Kansas City community. So to each one of them, thank you. They don't need it because they'll just tell me that they show up because they're paid, they're not volunteers. But I wanted to thank them anyway. All right, with that, I would like to offer my two very important guests here to speak. And you know, I am an officer of the court all the time, even after 5. It is not after 5 yet, no. So my partners here, my chief and my mayor, they are bound to my rules as well, as those court rules as an officer of the court. So they too will not be allowed to answer some of your questions. But we want to do the best that we can to try and be transparent and open with you without harming a very active investigation.
I am grateful that the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office has charged them with various felonies as consequences of their reckless actions. The Prosecutor's Office has my full confidence in the handling and prosecution of this case. And Jean, thank you. I know that you have been present in headquarters, you and your team, since Wednesday. Thank you for that. It is a team effort. Our investigation continues at full velocity. Teams of detectives are working non-stop to ensure that anyone else responsible for the shooting is apprehended and that they receive the maximum punishment allowed by law.
I'll say very briefly, that lawlessness and criminality will never be tolerated in Kansas City. From the beginning of the incident on Wednesday, Chief Graves, her officers, our command staff, and others were working nonstop to make sure that we could find the assailants, to make sure that there would be persons brought to justice as swiftly as possible. Jackson County Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker, her assistant prosecutors, and her entire staff worked closely and collaboratively with the Kansas City Police Department, our federal partners, and all who had information about the incidents that lead us to this position now. We recognize that for the people of Kansas City to feel safe, for us to deter criminal activity and to ensure valid and appropriate punishment, consequences must be swift, certain, and severe. What you have seen over the last week is folks working from the prosecutor's office, from the police department, and beyond to make sure that we would have that swiftness of an investigation and a thorough investigation, that you would have certainty, that they went through incredible amounts of review to make sure we got to the right charges, and to make sure that today we would see the appropriate charges that could be aligned with appropriate punishments thereafter. I thank the two women that are standing to my right for the hard work they've done in leading organizations that, while they can't in some way unwind the incidents that happened before, can let the people of Kansas City, Jackson County, the state of Missouri, and our country know that we will make sure that appropriate punishments are meted out, that justice will be served, so that the people of Kansas City can have confidence both in their police department, their prosecutor's office, and all those who swear an oath to keep us safe. My condolences continue to go out to the Lopez Galvin family and to all of those impacted. As the prosecutor notes, if you have additional information about concerns or injuries of your own, please call the appropriate phone number, and know, as the prosecutor noted, that this is not the end of anything. Investigations continue, healing will continue, our outreach continues to all, and as we look for justice, we also look for comfort for all of those who were impacted physically or emotionally last Wednesday. Thank you all for being here, and thank you both for your work.